Hello, and welcome to this episode of Demystified as we explore home cooking in a modern world. Hello, I'm Linda, and I'm here with my friend Paul. How are you,
You
Paul?
remembered your name this week.
And I luckily remembered your name. How are you?
I'm alright. You?
Very excited.
Oh no, what's...
Oh, no. Well, it's just that we've ended our most recent lockdown.
Yeah.
We've got great vaccination rates, which means that we are emerging from the limitations.
Cave.
I know, that cave is called your home, but anyway.
Yeah.
So it is pretty exciting today.
Very exciting, can't you tell? But
I know you look a bit overwhelmed, a bit
Yeah.
underwhelmed really, but
Yeah.
I think you've had a big week.
yeah, big week.
Cooking or other stuff?
Other stuff. Not as much cooking as I'd like, but a little bit. Had a bit of a couple of mishaps. Which we don't talk about that often. Yeah. And now I'm throwing together the rainbow ice cream, mint flavoured ice cream cake, which I have to start now for next week so it gets done in time.
So your little fella loves mint.
Loves ice cream.
Oh, yes.
Loves mint ice cream.
And mint ice cream. So all those colours that you're doing are all flavoured mint.
Correct. Yes.
Nice.
So,
Excellent.
I am taking the lazy way out, just buying the ice cream. If I was going to do it properly, I'd make my own, but for a 6-year-old.
I think for a 6-year-old, I don't think he'll actually be able to tell the difference. He'll be so excited from the day.
Yes. So, but what have I done? I redid my video for the delay start cooking tutorial that we talked about last week. So I've just got to edit that and get that up and running, and I've got another video sitting there waiting to go up. So a few little bits and pieces happening. I'm starting to think about Christmas. So if anyone's got any ideas of Christmas content or recipes that they want, we do have a bit of stuff there.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
But if there's something specific, we're not going to do a turducken. Just say if anyone asks, that's not happening.
We're not?
No.
What is a turducken? I don't even know what that is. Is that the chicken inside the duck inside the chicken inside the goose?
Yeah. So I mean, it can be done. Can be done a lot of different ways. But if you want to go like the full extreme, quail inside a chicken, that chicken filled with quail inside a duck, that duck filled with chicken and quail inside a goose, and then I think that goose inside a turkey.
Lordy.
Yeah, Are they
all boned?
No, I can't remember. I can't quite remember.
That would not be good.
Yeah, I can't quite remember.
But
the funny thing is effectively, if you think about it, everything but the bird on the outside is steamed.
Ooh.
So if you roast the turkey, which is what you would do, because of the moisture in the turkey, and then work your way backwards, goose, duck, chicken, quail, because they're not exposed to any heat, they would effectively be steamed. I've never seen a really good one. I think people have done versions where they've boned them out and made it like a roulade and stuff like that, but yeah,
No.
So don't ask.
I'd rather have each one separated and cooked well and differently. And
I think there must be
a way.
Yeah, good reason behind it, but yeah, not.
I wonder. Maybe we'd research that.
Maybe next Christmas.
Okay.
Not this Christmas.
Well, again, following on from last week, I was making some chicken sizzles and we had a little bit extra, so I thought I'd cook up the bit that I wasn't. Dougie went and bought 2, but there was actually 3, so I thought, I'll make some extras for the next day. So I pulled out the 2 fry pans, the cast iron, and I've got a really wide base non-stick. And it was interesting to compare because they both went on at the same time. They both had the same amount of heat, and they both had the same number of chicken fillet pieces in there, which I cut the chicken fillet in half through the thickness, and then so they're quite small. And yet, how much quicker the cast iron one cooked, and how much better it was at browning the chicken schnitzel at a low heat. And I turned it off. Minutes and minutes, and it was only cooking for about 6 minutes, 7 minutes, so all up, it was about 5 that I turned it off before I finished cooking in the wider base big non-stick fry pan. And I thought that was interesting. We talked about that a little bit with the way cast iron conducts heat, but it was noticeably different even in a really short cook.
And you're incorrect in saying that they had the same heat when you initially heated it up. So while the gas burner might have been the same, cast iron takes longer to heat, but while that is true, it maintains heat better over time.
Okay.
Which is probably what you found. So I would suggest to you that your cast iron pan, while hot, your other pan would have been hotter initially, but as soon as you add load to it, you add food load to it, so you put something cool in it, it loses its temperature. So while your cast iron may well, in truth, have been cooler, it's maintained that cooler temperature better and hasn't had the heat loss from the food load.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I did even turn it down.
Yeah.
Even once I put the chicken fillets in, I thought, wow, that's happening a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And the overall taste was the same.
Yeah.
No, but just how they presented was that nice goldeny brown crust, and I thought, gee, that is a noticeable difference in that cast iron.
Which is sometimes you can see differences in ovens too. So your oven's stainless steel interior. Mm-hmm. My current combi steam oven, or a couple of the last ones that I've had, have been enamelled interiors. So there's arguments to be had for what's better, but what retains heat better. Because really that's what you're trying to maintain and retain good consistent temperature by when you're adding load. So is your oven working hard because it doesn't maintain heat really well? Depends on the material. Often, not always, but often. So you open the oven door to your oven, which is older, thin-walled stainless, or you open the door to my oven, which is thick-walled enamel. Says to me that more likely than not, my oven's not working as hard to maintain temperature.
What's your oven like to clean?
Yeah, well, you see, and that's where with a combi steam oven particularly, it comes into that probably stainless is better or easier.
Because the other day I looked at our bottom oven, which doesn't get used a lot, but I thought, oh, that really does need a good clean. So about lunchtime, I got out the, we call it, like, we have the brand Nappy Sand, but it's just that kind of soaking powder. And put it into hot water, took everything out of the bottom oven, trays and shelving. Yeah. And I soaked it until about 7 o'clock at night. And then it doesn't take long because it comes off pretty quickly. But they're so fiddly. Yeah. So about 8:30, I still packed up, rinsed off, put them back together, and still struggle with getting the side shelves in, making sure that the tracks come out the right way. I never get it right the first time.
But that's a good...
That is such a... and that was an easy clean, because the Nappy Sand does such a great job on them, on the trays.
But that's a good tip for everyone. Like your oven racks, your side racks where everything fits into, even if you've got telescopic runners, because a lot of ovens these days have got greased telescopic runners. Oh, okay. That Nappy Sand soaking trick is brilliant.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the alternative brands would be, but it's that kind of stuff you put babies' nappies into. Heaven knows what it's doing to their little bottoms, but anyway. Yeah. But it's great for cleaning that.
Really, really good for cleaning that, and it brings sparkle back.
And it's easy to get it off.
Yeah.
You don't need much scrubbing. You just have to make sure you get into all the nooks and crannies. So I've banned us using that for 6 months. I do not want to touch that oven again. Whereas the steam oven is so much easier to clean. Yeah, it's so much interesting. And I've noticed too in the one of the magazines we get, is it quarterly or monthly appliance? Beautiful big
appliance retailer.
Retailer, okay. There was how ovens are sort of changing again, and now there's a one that's got a sort of a double capacity space at the bottom, and then on top where you used to have just all either induction or hobs. This one had a dedicated sous vide and gas hob and a little section of induction and then a grill.
Yeah.
And I thought, crikey.
Yeah, I do a lot of those, what Americans term is range cookers.
Yeah, but wow.
We call them freestanders over here. Yeah. But yeah, the options are becoming more and more.
That's quite fancy.
Yeah, and some of them, like underneath the cooking surfaces, you sometimes have a double door which opens to a regular conventional oven. And what they're now doing is generally on the left-hand side of that is steam.
This one did.
Yeah.
There was like a 18 centimetre door and a 30 something centimetre door, whatever. But the smaller one underneath the sous vide section, combi steam. And I thought that is like how exciting. And the price wasn't outstandingly expensive. It wasn't eye-watering.
You do earn a bit, so you know.
No, but like sometimes you look at these and you go, ooh, that's a very expensive coffee. I'd have to, make a lot of coffees to justify that little machine. But this was like about 15 grand Australian, which for what it is, like all those different appliances, and it was beautiful sort of, unit to look at. I thought, wow, things have changed again. There seems to be another big leap up in appliances.
For the flexibility of cooking you get, it's like anything, it'll filter its way down and become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Like induction is now. When induction first hit the market, it was really not attainable to a lot of people, but now it's become, more attainable, and more people are embracing induction, not only because it's easier to clean, better to cook, I think better to cook on generally, but because it's more environmentally friendly than natural gas. And I know for a fact that a lot of ranges in America are now, the induction topped ranges are now outselling the traditional gas in was a pretty traditional gas market, North America. I'm generalising a bit.
Well, I'd say it's the same here because...
here's a bit different. Australia is very state by state. So Victoria is very gas centric. So if you went to a good retailer in Victoria, they would probably tell you that they sell 2 or 3 to 1 gas to induction. But in Queensland, it's easily the other way around, if not more. It's probably 9.5 to 1.
Oh, wow.
Because there's not much natural gas up in Queensland.
I was going to say we are very close to the gas fields. We have big processing plants here in Victoria.
But there's also countries around the world that are now, you can't have natural gas in a new build.
Okay.
So induction is becoming, and electric ovens too. Yeah.
Green, isn't it? Yeah.
Because I've just moved.
Green builds, yeah.
And we've moved into a house with just the most shocking oven cooktop setup that I've experienced in a long time. And fortunately, I've got my barbecue, so that's getting a lot of work at the moment. But it's a gas oven, and I still remember back in the day when I first started cooking using gas ovens, but they're just horrific. I just can't I can't come at it. The temperature is just all over the show. It just doesn't feel safe anymore. I don't know, and it doesn't perform. So I'm gonna spend some coin now and pull out the oven in a rental and put my own oven and cooktop in, because I can't bear the thought of even living there for 12 months using a gas hob and a gas oven.
I don't know. I don't think you've...
Being my accountant, you're going to tell me that it's a waste of money.
No. I just, over the years, until we got these Bosch ovens when we renovated, I've always had gas.
Yeah. And
every house I've lived in, except for when I was a really young kid, we had an electric one because we couldn't get gas where we were living. And I've, grown up sort of learning how to flick matches just about at the gas at the back because the igniting button always goes out.
Yeah.
And so you have to have...
in our current house, we don't even have an igniting button.
Right. It's pretty
bad.
We're
back to matches.
That's really... I see. And so
I'm
I've grown
too
up.
old.
I know.
now.
I know, and you've been around too long to. But
I just can't deal.
I do miss all that. Well, not really.
Nah.
Not when I've cooked up. One of the things I've noticed when in the house we were living in, that we had a gas oven and it had the worst seals. And the number of times I'd cook up, we'd get friends and their kids around, and I'd have 28 things going at once. And then I'd notice that those potatoes, I don't think they're browning.
My
and
mum
the gas had blown out, or the flame had gone.
Had my dad build like a door latch system to try and hold the oven door closed so it could keep heat in it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just...
Friends of ours used to hold
horrible.
theirs together with a wrench.
Yeah, but it just shows you, like, that's probably now, 30 years, since that oven my mum had. But in 30 years, the advancement in technology, and now you're sitting here talking about a freestanding range that's got a sous vide bath, a teppanyaki plate, a gas hob, induction hob, combi steam oven and regular oven all built into the one unit. Like in 30 years, like people talk about the advancements in technology with automobiles like cars, like it's a pretty big leap in a short amount of time to what you could do back then and what you can do now. Like, even look at things like temperature probes and stuff like that. You can now get wireless Wi-Fi. Yeah. If I'm overseas on work and my partner's at home and she's cooking something with the temperature probe, I can actually meddle with it and change what's going on because I can see it on the app. Like I can,
as against what she would be doing, which is getting Chinese takeaway.
Correct. Yeah, but it's
it is amazing. And in fact, while I mentioned that friend of ours, thank you, Jane Davies, for actually inspiring me to research the two ovens back in 2012 and 2013, which led me to buy our little combi steam, which has led us to here.
But it has to be said, there is a perfectly good downdraft, one of the best downdraft cooktops, sitting in our storeroom, waiting to be installed at your palace.
I don't think our palace, our 14.5 square palace, I don't think until today that we've been allowed to have, because I don't think replacing a perfectly good hob with a induction cooktop qualified as emergency.
No, that's true.
Emergency work on a house.
No, that's quite
true. So
true.
now we can.
But we've been talking about this for 2 years. Let's be honest.
And where have we been for 2 years?
Yeah, well, that's true.
In Victoria here, baby.
But it'll be interesting to see, given that you've been cooking on gas for a while.
Well, let's just say coming up to, how old am I? Minus
it'll be 40 years.
Yeah, you know exactly that
there's
another 10 on there.
It'll be 40 years
there's
you've been
another
cooking,
10.
You'd be cooking on gas.
Yeah.
So to see you go from that to induction, I think would be very interesting. Because, and this is a question that I often get asked is, how long does it take to get used to? It takes most people about 1 or 2 cooks, so a day and a half to get used to. And I mean, we spend a lot of time, the other thing that I've been thinking a lot about recently is we spend a lot of time talking about ovens, and ovens are seen to be, especially in Australia, are seen to be the cornerstone of the starting purchase of the kitchen suite purchase, right? So you pick your ovens, and then you pick your cooktops and
wall bags,
integrated, flush mounted,
and everything else comes
refrigerator, dishwasher, wine cabinet, like whatever. But the funny thing is if you look at it, the two most used products in your kitchen, what are they?
The hob and the sink.
The sink isn't a product.
Oh, isn't it? That's a product. It's a sink.
I don't care about sinks.
Okay. Kettle?
Try again.
Uh-oh, I'm failing.
Yeah.
Just tell me.
Fridge.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So your refrigerator and your hob are probably the two most used products. So most people will use their oven, and I'm generalising, you maybe 4 times a week, maybe, and that's a high user. Yeah. And that's why when you're shopping around, this is good for people who are doing a reno or shopping around. If you're buying wall-mounted ovens, let's say, or under bench ovens, not a freestanding range, if you're buying anything other than a freestanding range, you'll often see that ovens will have a longer warranty period because they're used less versus your cooktop.
Ah, okay, makes sense.
Yeah. Not all the time.
No,
but just if you are shopping around, make sure you have a look at the warranty periods for especially your cooktop because they're used more. How many times would you use your cooktop versus your oven? Realistically, like remember, you've got a job.
Yeah.
Day to day,
Well, also that, also with ours, because we're using steam ovens so much more, so it is a bit different for us. But yeah, the bottom oven hardly at all.
Yeah,
like
but
really.
it's
it's a great oven. It's not like it's not a good oven.
Yeah.
But no, we just don't use it. It is the overflow oven, and it's so much bigger. Even though it gets dirtier, but anyway. Well, that's interesting. Well, thanks for that.
Well, I don't know if we've really covered.
Do you know what you're
today.
going to put into your house for the next 12 months?
There's a couple of comics tapes floating around, so I might take one of those and I'll have a look at how much.
There's an induction floating around as well, apparently.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to those links for a rental, so I'll have a look how much power I've got going into that house. I've got a very small space to work in, so I might. I know a few people in the appliance game, so I might be able to get my hands on a cooktop. I think not too fussed about that. So it may well be a gas cooktop, but at least it'll have flame failure, which is what we don't have at the moment. So, which is important to me.
Okay.
So flame failure is when if a gust of breeze blows the flame out, gas stops flying.
Yeah, that's helpful. In a family?
Ours doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it still legal?
No. So 2017,
there you
the
go.
laws came in, but I think this was fitted in 1862.
Well, you do live in an old part of Melbourne.
Yes, I do.
Well, thank you for that.
Well, we
Mr.
haven't
Mousy.
really covered anything, but we'll cover some. You've got to come up with the topics for this, Time for you to put some effort in.
You're the brains behind this, baby.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Well, happy cooking, everybody. Happy
Yes.
cooking, Paul. Good luck with your search.
We'll speak to you next week.
And we'll speak next week. Take care. Happy cooking, everybody. Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this podcast as we explore home cooking in the modern world. We'd love you to subscribe, and for more information, please go to our website, cookingwithsteam.com.